from a... Whoa, what the hell? Okay, that is spicy as hell. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another amazing patch notes review. I am the Skilled Roy, and today we're going to be going over the latest patch 1.1 notes. This is the first major patch since the release of Call of the Mountain, something we've all been sort of been waiting for. I'm excited to see what happens. I managed to climb up to rank 25 on the North American ladder by playing Scouts the entire time, although I did it with a unique list that ran Radiant Strike and Shell Shocker, which is really fun. So I'm hoping that Scouts doesn't get nerfed, but I have a strong suspicion it might. Let's talk about some other things in the meta currently. TF Swain is one of the best decks currently in the metagame, as well as Scouts, as well as some of the Nightfall variants are also pretty decent. I believe we also saw some really other great decks as well. I need to go back and consult the list. Turbo Sejuani, Pirate Burn. There's a bunch of really good cards currently out right now, and so what am I looking for in these patch notes? Quite frankly, actually, I enjoy the patch notes overall from a lot of conceptual levels. The issue I'm having is Call of the Mountain cards haven't been that good in a weird way, does that make sense? Like, all the top decks right now, other than Nightfall, I think, are just... I wish there was more Call of the Mountain representation. It does feel like that we got not a full expansion's worth of new decks. When Rising Tides first came out, we got a ton of new decks, and it really does feel like we didn't get that in this expansion, at least so much so, to at least my opinion. A lot of the Ace-Soul Trundle players immediately stopped running it as they slowly began to fall off as they hit higher ranks. And aggro decks now, such as Scouts and Nightfall aggro, are both seeing some level of success at the higher points of the ladder, so I'm happy for that. So yeah, I think overall, what am I looking for in terms of direct nerfs? I feel like Scouts is definitely getting nerfed. They've already stated that Leesin is getting buffed, and that EZREAL is getting nerfed. So those are two things right off the bat. And of course, the one big hot topic for everyone is Hush. I don't think Hush is overpowered. I just think it's incredibly toxic, and I don't want to see it that much anymore. Similar to Unyielding Spirit in the last expansion, where I genuinely thought it was relatively fair, but it's just a very toxic card and not interesting or fun to play against. So there's that, and that's kind of how I feel about Hush. So I'm hoping that Hush is on here, but other than that, I think that's mostly it. I think that's basically all I have to say on it so far. So I'm hoping for a lot of changes here. Let's take a look, shall we? So we're gonna scroll down. Our first major patch addresses balance changes as well as gauntlet updates, a new lab, and a long-awaited debut of the Cross Shard Friend Challenge. Finally, Jesus Christ. Patch 1.1 lands 3 weeks after Call of the Mountain patch rather than the usual 2, which has given us room to lock in more balance changes than usual for our first post-release patch. Nice! It's not quite enough room to gather data for all the new stuff, so we're looking to follow up on more balance changes in just 2 weeks as a part of patch 1.11. For that patch, we'll have a dark... Oh no! Oh, Okay, so here's a preview of things to expect in patch 1.1. Adjustments to the difficulty of Aurelion Soul's level up requirements, adding escalation to Hush's repeatable cost. Yeah, so they're probably going to make it 3 initially, then 4, and then 5. That makes the most sense to me, right? Like, that is hypothetically the best way. So yeah, and grandfather removal giving more hugs. Oh, that's nice, that's nice. So these 3 things are I'm noticing right off the bat. So that is, so basically adding adjustments to Aurelion Soul's level requirement, adding escalation to Hush's repeatable cost, and giving grandfather removal giving more hugs. So we have obviously one of the most underpowered cards, I think, by far. Hush's repeatable cost is like a huge one. That's like something we're expecting. But they do say that it lands in patch 1.11 because they didn't feel like they had enough to go over Targon stuff. So I guess no Targon cards will get touched here. So it looks like Nightfall aggro is going to be pretty solid, I think. That's something to consider at least. Alright, sure. EZREAL is one you know right off the bat. He's going from you've targeted 8+ times to 10+ times. Yeah, and that's a pretty substantial change, and that's something that people have been asking for a long time. If they don't want to change the burst damage effect of his ability, then changing how fast he comes online is a lot more interesting. Since his level 2 form is so powerful, they're like, okay, we have to make sure this is fair and overall more interesting for players. So, yep, there we go. Makes sense to me, honestly. Targeting enemies 10+ times is a substantial change from 8. I'm not sure how much this affects the deck, in all honesty. It feels like 2 is pretty solid to me. but we'll have to see for sure. I've seen a lot of times where EZREAL players can't get the card online in time, so going to 10 makes it distinctly harder to me, at least. We'll see, though. Leesin, he's going from a... Whoa, what the hell? Okay, that is spicy as hell. So he's going from a 6 cost to a 4 cost. His health is going from 6 to 4 as well, but that doesn't matter, because as long as you have 4 health, you're fine. You've cast 7+ spells to 8+ spells. Okay, that makes sense because you're casting him. You're casting him way earlier. He still has the Challenger and Barrier effect. Okay, he's been the least played Rising Tides champion since his release. We're reworking him to be significantly cheaper and being able to make impact earlier in the game, while making more sense along the double stack casting archetype. Okay, and then his level up is obviously just +1/+1. And they changed Dragon's Rage to Sonic Wave. That's actually crazy. That's so good. That's amazingly good for him. Like, having Dragon's Rage as your signature spell was really awful because you literally, like, drawing a second Leesin felt so bad, but now drawing a second Leesin is actually very good. Dude, making him cost 4 is bonkers. That's actually crazy good. Hitting 8 cast spells is not even hard in his deck. This is super, super easy. This card is actually going to be incredibly powerful now. Dude, I can't believe it. I can't believe he's fucking 4. Wow. That's actually really impressive. Okay. I am really excited for Leesin now. That's actually some really, really crazy stuff. Sonic Wave change. This is just incredibly smart. This gives me a lot of faith in the development team when they're like, we're making it Sonic Wave instead. Praise the gods, man. Holy shit. Like, one thing I think is really, really cool about this, that means this opens the door for other changes to champions so they can get different abilities instead. You know what I mean? So, for example, if EZREAL, drawing a second EZREAL is too powerful for it to be a Mystic Shot, they can change it to True Shot Barrage, or things like that. That is just substantially smart. That means this door is open. The door is open now for us to change champion signature spells, and that is huge for me because holy shit, we need to change Maokai's signature spell. But anyways, that's another whole thing entirely. But this is awesome, and I'm really happy to see a change like this. Thank you, Riot. This is amazing. This is exactly why I'm so happy that we're having fucking 2-week balance changes for a fucking card game. It's so good. Yeah, precedent set. This is huge. We also changed Leesin's champion spell to Sonic's Wave. While this is a most unusual change, Leesin's Dragon's Rage was often a poor fit for Leesin decks due to being expensive and slow speed, resulting in a rare use than we'd like to see as a champion spell. His new spell should help his early game and allow Leesin to contribute more synergy to followers. Yes, it will. That's so useful. Thank God. Okay, War Chefs. This one had to happen. This one, deadass, had to happen. This is something that has been cooking for a long time because there is no way that this card could be like this powerful forever. War Chefs has been a consistent fixture of mid-range Demacia decks, always earning its keep through potential to create huge early advantages. We like to see more variety, so we're making this change to allow more counterplay via blocking and rein in how consistently the card can create snowball wins. Yep, that is a completely fair statement. All of this is very fair. I knew Scouts is absurd, man. A deck that strong should not be that reliable. It is way too easy to win the game with Scouts, and this is going to help that a lot. Now, what's worth mentioning here, though, is that, like, this is still not going to be hugely detrimental. It's going to just change its play patterns. It's not a dead card or anything now, but it's definitely a lot weaker. And, like, now when they get a Scout attack, when they get when they get an attack in now and they're able to, like, drag your unit to the side with a Challenger bird and the bird kills it for free, you're no longer getting hit but for 2, you're getting hit for 1 when you don't have a blocker otherwise available. And this also lets you more accurately with, let's say, War Chefs, be able to block the War Chefs with, like, a 2/3 or a 2/2, and that's substantial, right? Like, Tiari can block War Chefs now, and that's legitimate. I know that sounds crazy. Trust me, I have a very fond spot for Tiari. Because one issue I had with Tiari especially is that Tiari really felt like a bad War Chefs. But now this is interesting. Now there's legitimate issues, and there's more things you can change now. So this is good. I like this change a lot. I hope there's no other further changes to Scouts, but this seems more than fine for me. Next, we're gonna have Flash of Brilliance. What would the patch notes be without a change to Flash of Brilliance? We're reverting the previous change simultaneously with an update to Heimerdinger. Oh my god. It's coming. He's coming back, boys. He's coming back. Flash's satisfaction and usability took too much collateral hit from these changes. Heimer and Flash of Brilliance are ultimately a natural pairing, and we like to restore the appeal of such a core interaction while also making Flash more appealing for a wide variety of decks. Yep, so Flash is coming back, and that is dramatically huge. This is a huge change. Flash and Heimer were some of the most crazy decks that we've seen in Standard, so I'm really like, I'm hesitantly optimistic for this, because Heimer basically got deleted that patch, so this is something to hopefully bring him back. Overgrown Snapvine. He's gaining 1 power, boys. He's on his way. Overgrown Snapvine has been a frequent request for updates among the Epic card roster. Snapvine can sometimes lock you out of playing meaningful units, and while we want to be careful given the potential of its effect, a simple boost to its power should provide significant usability and a payoff upgrade. Sure. This is really funny. Sure. I mean, like, tell you what, if this deck actually becomes real, I'm gonna lose my mind. But I'm ready for it, you know? Don't worry, we have Passage Unearned to keep this in check. Or the box, whatever you want to say. This is just a really funny card. Alright. Crack Shot Corsair. Going from a 1 mana 1/1 to a 1/2. Whoa! Bilgewater's cheap and aggressive plunder-based units haven't been seeing much usage outside of Jagged Butcher. This adjustment should help Corsair be more viable in Bilgewater-based aggro. That is so good. That is actually huge, right? Card is genuinely good now. Because like the issue with having 1 health, right, is that you're automatically susceptible to things like Whale. You also can't be Ranger resolved to survive things like an Avalanche. So this card just needed something. You need 1 health is not going to hurt this card, and now you can even justify attacking with it sometimes in certain situations too. Like, you know what? I am super down for this card. Really solid stuff. This is actually a great buff. Thank you. Honestly, this is the only thing that I love about Riot's balance decisions is that like they're being aware enough in this card game to actually buff. Yeah, exactly. They touch stuff that has no reason to exist. They're like, hey, remember this card that literally no one plays? Well, don't worry, we're buffing it. Like, so far, and they even admitted that we were wrong on Flash of Brilliance. Like, shit like this, thank you. Thank you. I don't want to see a card game that just, like, fucking shoots the card in the head, drags it out back, and tosses it into the corpse of now dead cards, you know? Like, you don't need to do that. You can take back buffs and nerfs if they didn't end up being successful. No one's going to judge you for this, right? Like, this is fine for you to do that. Thank you. And this is great, too. Oh, Jagged Taskmaster. Okay, here we go. She's now 2 cost. Wow, 2 cost, 3/2 instead. But Plunder grant 1 cost allies everywhere plus. Oh, that's like, yo, I think that Poro Cannon deck is legitimate now. Like that's kind of bonkers, right? This is actually kind of crazy, right? We're adjusting the Taskmaster to make it easier utilizing its core decks while making it more accessible to a wider array of Bilgewater decks. Wow. This card is just generally good now, right? Knocking 1 cost and then knocking 1 stat off each stat, but still keeping the effect is still dramatically huge. This is genuinely really good now. The only issue I'm having with this is that on turn 2, you're gonna have to attack and then play this. But like, I think that's fine because you give everything +1/+1 forever. Sorry, +1/+0 forever, right? Wow, this is actually surprisingly good. Surprisingly decent. Good buff. I'm down with this. I'm not sure. I want to say it's a good buff, but we'll have to see for sure. This is something I'm willing to experiment with now. Yordle Grifter, yeah, this is something that we knew was going to happen, and honestly, it made no sense that this card was so dramatically different than every other card in the game, is that Allegiance create a warning shot in hand. So originally, this card obviously made a warning shot in your hand by default, and you didn't need to hit the Allegiance trigger. But to me, I was always like, wait a second, why does every other fucking Allegiance card in the game be completely awful when you don't hit the Allegiance trigger, and yet this one was able to not hit the Allegiance trigger and still be fine? You know, it never really made any sense to me. So yeah, I think this is more than a fine effect. Allegiance cards are intended and balanced to be quite powerful given the expected cost of their deck building constraints. Yordle Grifter has proven too easy to rely on decks that stretch those constraints too far, so we're extending the Allegiance requirement for both of its effects. Yep. This is something I've been asking for forever, because this does not make sense and is not consistent with the rest of the cards in the game. This is supposed to happen. Oh wow, Cygnus! Wow, I thought they said no Targon cards. What is this? Wow, that phase 1 Cygnus is so bad that they realized that, hey, we don't even need to see the rest of the data. We know this card is trash. Oh my god, dude. 6 mana, 5/3, Nightfall, give elusive still. Yeah, so they just pumped him up +1/+1. Basically deserved it. This card was kind of bad. This card was objectively just one of the worst cards in the game, and I'm glad to see that it's finally been changed, because this was not... When this card got revealed, I was laughing. I was just like, how is this even gonna happen? But now it's like, okay, 5 damage elusive is pretty legitimate. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with this one. Okay. Wow, that's it? Okay. So, like, this should have happened a long time ago. These two are just buffs. These 3 are just buffs that, like, I didn't even consider as happening. This is great to see come back. This is a great change. Cygnus should have been buffed. Like, this is more like almost a fix, because, like, this card should not have been released as a 6 mana 4/2. But really, no Petty Officer, no Make It Rain, nothing. Grifter's the only card being touched here for TF Swain. Really? That's like somewhat concerning. I mean, obviously, I can't tell you what the meta is going to be with EZREAL being changed and Leesin being changed, stuff like that. So maybe there's a deck that's just being kept down, and maybe like Leesin is decent. But this seems really odd to me that there's no direct nerfs to any of TF Swain. That's... Huh. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know what to say here. This feels... I'm not upset about it. It's just like... It's not what I expected. I mean, I imagine there'll be more challenge changes happening here, but they said that's going to be mostly Targon cards, so it's just like... Huh. Did Bilgewater genuinely get buffed more than it got nerfed? Yeah, it got 2 buffs and 1 nerf. That's wild. And no Ionia buffs either, right? I mean, obviously Leesin. But that's it, right? Wow. I don't know. I guess they want more data. Yeah, because this is just... No offense to them. These are a lot of the cards we've been knowing have been bad. Like, these 3 did not really see any substantial amount of play, and that's fine. This one they knew there was a mistake. War Chefs is understandable. Cygnus is understandable. Eurogrifters, like, these are all things that should have happened, like, almost on release of the expansion. And Cygnus should not have been released as this. It does feel like this patch is hitting a little slow for me. It doesn't really address a lot of my concerns with the current meta. A lot of the cards I think that people are expecting here were things like Rex. Hush obviously is being told is getting changed, but it seems a little weird that it's not being brought out right away. TF Swain, it just feels like it should have been hurt somehow, you know? It does feel a little odd that the best deck in the format is not really seeing any nerfs. I mean, you can call this one a nerf, sure, but they have ways to get around that. Huh. Not sure how I feel about that. I was expecting a bit more substantial changes, to be honest. They even said we're giving more changes than normal, and then we're like, oh, hey, we're buffing 3 useless cards. Which, I mean, hey, great. I'm actually happy for that. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like seem like an asshole or anything here. Like, these cards needed buffs, and I appreciate that, genuinely. And this should have been changed back, yes. War Chef should have been changed, yes. But, like, no TF Swain. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. No TF Swain. I genuinely don't know what to make of that. That's kind of crazy to me. But, I guess so. I guess so. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Standard Gauntlet update. Multi-deck pick and ban. Okay, last month we updated Singleton Gauntlet to allow tri-region decks, and now the Standard Gauntlet gets its own update with the introduction of pre-match multi-deck pick and ban lobby. Interesting. You'll now start as a Standard Gauntlet picking 3 different decks you'd like to potentially field. Different how? Well, there's a few rules in place. No champions duplicated, different region combinations for each deck, and maximum 1 championless deck. Spicy. So this is them trying to mimic the current tournament ratios, basically. So after locking in your decks before and each match, you'll queue like normal until you match with opponent and enter the pick ban lobby. Here you'll get to view champions and their decks and ban one from being played while they return the favor. Then pick which of the 2 remaining decks you'd like to pilot in a single game match. Interesting. This is really cool. This is really sick, actually. Wow. New lab. Welcome to the jungle. This patch brings us our first ever constructed lab. Sweet. Instead of receiving random cards or choosing from a set of pre-constructed options, you'll be challenged to brew the perfect deck. Or if you like to get right into the action, you can choose quick play and queue up with one of Heimer's initial. Oh, awesome! That's super nice. So it's a constructed lab, but if you want to, you can just skip that and just do one of the ones they've already made. Okay. Welcome to the Jungle is inspired by the jungling gameplay of League of Legends. Take the time to clear your opponent's jungle camps, and you'll be handsomely rewarded. Both players have vulnerable and mobile jungle monsters on their board. Killing your opponent's jungle monsters grants you powerful buff spells with potent effects. Killing a jungle monster also spawns another in its place next round. Watch out, the new ones may be stronger as the game goes on. That's so cool! Holy shit! This is so fucking awesome. Alright, I'm down. This is sick. Okay, expedition archetypes. I don't really know expeditions too well, unfortunately, so I really wish I could give you a proper analysis of this, but Call Mountain archetypes are now going back to half as often as previously, or 50% as normal, and then the bonuses are removed completely in patch 1.1. That's something they do to sort of encourage the new stuff. Yeah, that seems fine. Cross, Shard, Friend Challenge! This has been something we've been waiting for literally forever. I'm really glad that's finally here. Huge thing. Bug fixes. Empyrean and Dragonling are now considered dragons. Awesome, Dragonling is considered a dragon now. Nice. Fix an issue with Nightfall VFX would take excessively long to complete while triggering Nightfall. Yes, please, thank you. Fix an issue where Tark would incorrectly gain level up progress from targeting your Nexus or allies in hand. That's hilarious. Fix an issue where Hush would delay stun effects to the following turn. Yeah, that was really weird. Fix an issue where Supernova would represent inaccurate results when using Oracle's Eye. Yep. Fix an issue where Zenith Blade wouldn't be revealed when drawn off its Daybreak effect. Good. Fix an issue where Dragon's Rage, spells copied by Karma, and Riptide Rex weren't correctly counting towards EZREAL's level up progress. Nice. Fix an issue where Flame Chompers weren't being correctly buffed by Vision when both were simultaneously discarded. Thank you. This is something that we were talking about earlier. Rummage, for those of you who don't know, originally it discarded your cards from your hand in order of left to right, but now it's discards in the order that you choose. So that means if you wanted a unit to get summoned with a discard effect first, and then play the card that buffs them, then you can do that now. Whereas before it was based on how the cards were ordered in your hand, which was super unintuitive. Fix an issue where Aurelion Souls level 2 would reduce the cost of opponent's celestial cards. That's funny. And various minor bug fixes for the deck build and rewards panel. Sweet. Okay. Nice. Okay, so how do I feel about this patch notes? Patch 1.1 was really great on multiple levels, right? So we got the EZREAL change people have been asking forever. Leesin is a huge one, and as someone who's been playing Draven Leesin for a long time, I'm really excited to try this one out. Thank you so much for this. War Chefs needed to happen a long time ago. I'm glad it's finally getting changed. Flash of Brilliance, it's really nice to see a developer go back on what they said and admit that they were wrong, and I'm really glad for that. Speaking of which, I love how they changed Dragon's Rage to Sonic Wave. That was a very intelligent decision, and that really sets the precedent for future waves champions can be buffed. Overgrown Snapvine, kind of a meme card, but I'm glad it's getting some love at least. Crackshot Corsair is becoming a legitimately testable card now. This is a card you could genuinely perhaps see being run. Jagged Taskmaster also has basically the same issue here, where originally it was run and tested very little bit, but now you could actually perhaps argue you could do it. I'm actually really excited to try this one out. Yordle Grifter is just a great step towards consistency because every other Allegiance, except for now one, does not activate effects when you don't hit Allegiance, and I feel like that's how it should be. Cygnus the Moonstalker, this card was obviously underpowered from the first second we saw it, and I'm glad it's finally getting buffed. These are all changes that are positive. I would have preferred more, and the ones that they say are coming, such as Aurelion Souls level up requirement adjustment, escalation for Hush is huge, and Grandfather removal needs to be a real card. So I'm glad that all these things are happening. I'm glad these changes happened, but my concern here is that TF Swain is still going to be the best deck in the game, and I don't really see a huge difference here in terms of that changing. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a huge part of it. Now, the things I'm really excited for are a lot of these system changes. So, for example, the standard multi-deck update with multi-deck pick and ban is allowing players to sort of experience the typical 3-deck ban format you see in a lot of different tournament scenes, which is super nice because it's a really cute way to slowly introduce people. Like, hey, there's a tournament scene. This is exactly what you do there. You know, you can definitely do this. So I'm hoping that's something interesting they could do. And as someone in the chat mentioned, this is also another huge buff towards perhaps making this available in-game, as a friend challenge option, which means that tournaments can just do this, which would be super nice. And we don't have to use third-party tools. And I'm really glad that they are doing this, and this perhaps signals them moving towards announcing a tournament format soon, because this is very much a tournament-specific format. So I'm really excited to see what they do, as well as the future of a possible tournament scene for LOR. The new lab, Welcome to the Jungle, is a really unique, interesting game. I really have to see how it works first. I haven't had a chance to play it, obviously, because it hasn't come out yet. But I'm really excited to give it a try, and really just... the idea of having jungle monsters is really cute. I really hope that we get to see a lot about them. I'm excited. We'll see that one. Exhibition archetypes, unfortunately, I don't know too much about, so I apologize for this. And of course, Cross Shard Friend Challenge. This change alone is arguably one of the biggest changes. Something we've genuinely been waiting for almost forever. So I am super glad to see this. Thank you so much. This is something we should have had a long time ago. Thank you. But yeah, I think that is generally it for LOR patch notes. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate you guys coming by. But until then, hopefully these changes are a sign of more things to come. I'm glad that we actually almost seemingly got just as many buffs as we got nerfs, which is really refreshing from a card game. I think the one thing we've always been saying here is that, like, the way Riot is handling their card game is so much better than many other card game companies, because they don't care about the longevity of cards. They're completely willing to kill a card after you've bought it. And that is, or bought the deck around it, and that's the real issue here, right? Is that, like, Riot Games doesn't give you refunds on champion nerfs or champion or card nerfs, of course, but it's because they intend for those cards to still be playable. And in other card games, they're often not. They'll nerf one card, then the entire deck falls apart, and then you're like, oh yeah, you can refund that one card, but good luck trying to make that deck again, you know? So I'm really grateful for that. I'm super excited for these patches, and I guess we wait for patch 1.1 when we see Hush get nerfed finally. But you know, that's how I feel about it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this sort of content, of course, you know I gotta do it. Please subscribe, please like the video, and of course comment on it. Give me your thoughts. Are you excited to play the new Leesin? Because that's basically what I'm gonna be doing for the next 2 weeks, is just trying to make Leesin work. I'm gonna make it happen, man. I'm gonna make it happen. All right. Anyways, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.